In this tutorial, I'm going to show you a little trick that I came up with when I was working on the World of Warcraft expansion trailer. And basically what it is how to use cloth, or a little tiny piece of cloth, to simulate peeling skin or hanging flesh, or anything like that. So basically I've got a character here, and I just modeled in, not a character, but that collision object. We're just going to pretend it's a character. And I went in and I modeled in a little flap of skin. So all I need to do, what I'm going to do right now, is I've got a cloth driver. So take a look at that real quick, and you can see it roughly matches the shape of that object. I'm going to go ahead and put a turbo smooth on it, and I'm going to go ahead and collapse this out. So I'm going to go collapse all. So there's my driver, and here's my little flap of clothing, or skin. So the next thing I have to do is I'm going to go ahead and take a look at this guy right here. Turn off backface culling. And I'm going to select a set of faces or polygons off of here. So let's do an edit poly. And I want to just select any faces that this could collide with. So let's just do this. So I'm basically just going to select all the faces around here, and I'm going to use these as a collision object. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and select these faces, and yes, I did pause the recording and go down to the editable mesh. I don't know why I was having such a weird viewport slowdown there, but I just wanted to make it a little quicker. So let's just select all these faces here. Just anything that I think that it can come in contact with. More is better. You don't want to end up having to add faces after the fact. Okay, so let's just... I'm probably selecting way more than I need, but I just want to be safe and make sure I've got what I need. So detach as a clone. Okay. So now we've got our collision object, and let's freeze everything else. And what I want to do, obviously, here is I want to close this gap. So let's go ahead and I'm going to clap this in editable poly. And we'll just cut these faces so they look a little more normal. Okay. And there we go. So there's our collision object. And go ahead and unfreeze this stuff. So let's go ahead and make this blue. Just make it a different color. We'll get rid of that. So here's our cloth object, and here's our collision object. Okay, so we'll go ahead and grab this, and I'm going to take the skin modifier off of here and say copy. I'm going to paste it onto this collision object, and I'm going to paste it onto this cloth object. Okay, so if I leave figure mode and just double check and make sure everything's running, see, as long as make sure it's moving with the body. Okay, so let's go ahead and go back into figure mode. And now I want to go ahead and apply cloth. So we'll grab these two objects. I'm just naming this so I know what it is. Okay. Don't worry, that'll be fixed before you guys get your hands on it. It only happens when I don't do this first. And that only started happening ever since 7, so I will fix it before it gets distributed again, before you guys get your hands on it. So now I'm going to go ahead and see, these are interpenetrating right now. So I'm going to go ahead, and I don't want them to be obviously interpenetrating. Hold on. Let's make this editable poly. Okay, constraint, edge, and let's just move these up like so. There we go. So there's no interpenetration now. Okay, so now let's copy that skin modifier, put it back on here. So we'll grab both objects. I'm going to throw a mesh select, and then I'm going to put a cloth effects modifier on it. Object properties, so we're going to make this cloth, and I'm going to go to defaults, but I'm going to turn on edge springs, and for object 2 we're going to make it a collision object. The depth is going to be 1, but the offset is going to be 0.05, really low offset, which we will probably increase in a moment, but for right now. So we'll set the gravity to -2000. Subsamples will just crank up to say 4. Let's make it 2. 4. Okay. I'm not going to turn on self-collision right now, but we can in a moment. Just for right now, I'm not going to. So let's go to our sub-object cloth here, and let's grab these verts right here along the edge. And we're going to create a group, and we're going to call it pin, and we're going to preserve that group, and we're going to go ahead and turn on soft selection, and we're going to go like so. Right, we're not going to touch that just yet because I want to show you what happens if you don't do that. So we're all set and ready to go. So there's our mesh. Okay, I'm going to freeze that. Let's leave figure mode. Okay. So we'll grab this object and say reset state, erase sim, okay, and run simulate. Okay, so you notice that the soft select is too strong, so the whole thing is being preserved. So we'll back it up, go to preserve, and I'm going to turn off soft select, and we're going to go ahead and hit simulate. But before we do that, we're going to go into object properties. We're going to look at these settings, and we're going to crank down our UV stretch to 5 and the shear to 5, and we're going to turn off edge springs. And let's try that again. Okay, see, now you got much better hanging. Let's take a look at that. Okay, let's erase object properties. We'll set the stretch to 0.5 and the density to 0.01. Make it a little heavier. So we'll run simulate and watch what happens. Okay, see? So the first thing that I want to fix here, though, let's start the simulation at 10. I want to turn the soft selection back on, and if we hit simulate, you see that it's kind of holding its shape a little bit better there. But to make it even better, we're going to go into that soft select, right? And we're going to bring it back just slightly, just a little bit. And then we're going to go get from object, because we're going to change the properties of these verts. And we're going to make these, we're going to turn on use edge springs and keep shape. So if we run simulate, you can see how that's trying to stay the same shape. Okay, so erase sim. So we're going to go into sub-object mode again, and we're going to change the UV stretch. We'll get from object, and we're going to change the UV stretch from 0.5 to 5. And we're going to put the shear, we're going to leave the shear where it is, and we're going to lower the fall off even more. And we're going to say simulate. So if we take a look, and we'll go back, erase. Let's try that one more time. Let's try 10. Let's increase the fall off just a little bit. See, it's starting to keep it a little bit more, but it's not quite where I want it yet. There we go. A little bit too much. Oops. Go grab that. Make it 40. Simulate. See, we're getting a little bit more. Going to take it down to 30 this time. 25. Okay. Okay. Grab that group. Let's kick this back just slightly. And now we're getting a little closer to what I want. So let's get to a view where you can watch it sim. Okay. Go ahead and run simulate. And you can see how quickly this is going to sim. So it looks like it's going to take about a minute. So you can see how easy it can be to just quickly set up something like this. I mean, it's just a matter of making a cloth object that you can run your sim on, and then creating some sort of collision object based on what your existing topology. and then running your sim. In a lot of cases, you don't have to worry about self-collision, but even if you had it on, it would still go pretty quick because you're really not dealing with that many faces, especially in a sample like this, an example like this. So let's go ahead and let that finish. Let's hit play. And it looks pretty cool. So all we have to do now is bind the flap to the cloth driver. Take the mesh itself, I'm going to put it back into figure mode. And we're going to grab the mesh, and above the skin I'm going to put a mesh select, and I'm going to select all of these verts. Just make sure I've got them all. Okay, so I'm going to take those verts and I'm going to skin wrap them. I'm going to save real quick just in case. And I'm going to add this little plane as a deformer. And we're going to want to go face deformation. And let's go ahead and leave the modifier. Leave subobject mode. And let's turn the cloth effects back on. I was having a major problem making it possible to see this without... I couldn't find a good angle, so I just deleted the arms. So here's how it looks, all rendered and in full speed. And you saw how quickly it simmed. It simmed in a couple minutes, or probably less than that, probably a minute or so. So it's easy to just throw into shots wherever you need it. And it's easy enough to use the existing model to create your collision objects because you don't need that big of an area, so it doesn't matter how many. It could be a lot of faces, it really doesn't matter because you're not using that. There aren't that many faces because it's such a small area. No other way to really say that. So that's how you would do PeelingFlesh. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial, and see you soon.